Hello, this is Rishi Desai. I'm the Chief Medical Officer at Osmosis, and I'm here to talk about COVID-19. Specifically, I wanted to talk about the importance of staying home and isolated as something that we can all do to try to mitigate the number of cases of COVID-19. Also, if you're having mild symptoms, it's particularly important to stay home if you're generally healthy, but also to recognize when things are getting worse and calling to get help if that's the case. A couple of ideas we've talked about in the previous Ask Me Anythings. One is the importance of raising the line of healthcare capacity. We have a huge initiative around that, and it starts with educating yourself. So we have a whole landing page for osmosis.org/COVID-19 you can go to get resources to learn about COVID-19. And there's also the idea of flattening the curve. So making sure that fewer people get sick by keeping folks essentially separate from each other whenever possible. And so that's an important thing that, again, we can all do to try to mitigate that. If you go onto our COVID-19 page, osmosis.org/COVID-19, if you go there, you can take a pledge and get 3 weeks of Osmosis Prime for free, literally giving away free education because it's so important, and making sure that everyone signs the pledge and agrees to doing the things that everybody ought to be doing, essentially kind of a social stewardship or a citizen stewardship to make sure that we're all doing our part to mitigate this pandemic. Okay, with that, let me go to the questions. I'm going to start going through any questions that come in. So if you have questions, please type them in the chat. In the meantime, I'll jump into some questions that came in from last week. We've got a question about serology that came in last week, and that was essentially to understand how serology plays a role in dealing with COVID-19. So the big thing here is making sure that people understand that serology testing is different than RT-PCR. RT-PCR is where you're looking for the virus or virus RNA. Essentially, a swab kind of goes up your nose to the back of the throat. You twirl it, you put it in liquid, you send it off to a lab. The lab can test for the presence of the virus RNA. So if they see it's positive, they say, hey, you have it. If it's negative, you don't have it. The sensitivity of that is not 100%. So that means that there are cases where you will really have it, but you wouldn't notice it. And so that's something to be aware of as well. Let me just check one quick thing.